Coach Mike is here, Kidz N Sports on the Rant Radio Network. Check us out. iRantRadio.com is the station. Share that with your friends. Also share the Kidz N Sports website. IDZN as in NancySports.com. Teach first, win later. That's our mantra here. We want our kids to enjoy their youth sports experience, and we're here to help you do that. So different guests all the time. I got some good stuff coming up the next month. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about that. Today, I'm going to pretty much comment to a degree over the last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks, our show's focused on early college recruiting, and it turns out it's stirred up quite a storm. I was looking on the Hay Bucket website, and one of my guests, John Cooks, is the guy that started Hay Bucket, and I find there's 50 posts to my original post and 1,300 views, people checking it out. So obviously we've hit something that pro or con, people are talking about this thing, and that's a good thing. That's what it's here for. I'll go into more on that in just a minute, but of course you got to do your homework. If you want to send me an email, coachmike@kidzensports.com is the email. If you want to call the show, if you hear something I'm saying, if you're one of those commenters on Hay Bucket and you're listening today, feel free to call in. I'm going to take calls today at 855-693-4897. Hopefully, I'm glad to see, Arvid, you've taken the phone out of here. I let that in your control because we had a lot of problem with that when we did that last year. That got to be a lot of fun at times. But anyway, you can also follow me on Twitter and on Facebook. Matter of fact, if you want to make a comment, probably the easiest way to reach me during the show is Twitter or Facebook, either one. But I'm going to try to check Twitter more. I haven't used Twitter a lot over the last few years, but I think that from what I'm hearing from everybody, that's the easiest way to go with that. How's your last couple of weeks? I enjoyed a week in North Carolina. I got to go see my new grandbaby, Dylan, and a growing little boy. He's going to be 6 months old in October here, and it was good to see him. And North Carolina was so beautiful. It is so beautiful back there. We went to a place called Grandfather Mountain. We couldn't go up to the top because it was foggy and everything, but we had a nice little hike in there, and just beautiful back there. I might have to think about that in the near future. Who knows? Go figure out. My daughter, we kid her a lot about this. When she was playing softball, she wasn't like the top level pitcher. She was a good pitcher. She did a good job, pitched a year in junior college. Probably could have had a scholarship at a small school somewhere in the East Coast. Maybe a small D1, who knows? But I'm thinking at least D2 or NAIA. But she put on her skills video. She didn't want to leave California. So that sort of kills. Sort of like putting will not ship when you put something on eBay, you just wiped out half your audience or more. Now she lives in North Carolina. She moved back there about a year and a half ago. And but I tell you what, it is so much different than California. Wide awake. I mean, I grew up in Arizona, which is also different, but now Arizona is a little more like LA is. But the North Carolina was just something different. People actually, if you're on the freeway, people actually, if you put your turn signal on, will let you move in. I mean, check that out, People let you go first on things. People will talk to you. We went on this hike on a trail, and everybody that passed you, good morning, how you doing? I mean, wow, what a different lifestyle. Okay, youth sports, early recruiting. We were talking a couple weeks ago about the early recruiting college coaches offering verbal scholarship or verbal commitments to 7th and 8th graders. I have contacted the NCAA, and I'm hoping they will have a representative join me on the show in the next week or two to tell us exactly what the rules say. I mean, because you can sort of see it yourself. The rules, recruiting rules are on the NCAA website, but there's a lot of them. There are a lot of rules. So it's going to take you a long time to find the specific ones. So I'm hoping we can get somebody on and say, what are the exact rule? Where does it go too far? The general stuff that we've been told, that we've gone on, is that, a college coach cannot call you or communicate to you between your junior, senior, and high school. Each sport has a different date there. But you can call them and talk to them all you want. If you call them and they answer the phone, they'll talk to you, right? You can email them. You can say, hey, I'm interested in your program. But there's different viewpoints as to whether a seventh or eighth grader counts in those rules from the standpoint. I had a person that deals with recruiting. He told me his understanding was that though they're not considered prospects, they're not yet a prospect. They're not in high school, so the rules don't quite apply the same way. And I've heard both ways in that. So that's another thing we want to try to clear up. Is it a good or bad thing? I don't think we made a judgment on that. I think there's different opinions, and that's cool. Uh, One of the posters on Hey Buck had made a comment. He listened to the entire hour, I guess just the first show. Apparently didn't listen to the second show and haven't heard nothing productive. Well, we weren't trying to solve the problem in one show. I don't think that can be solved in one show. We were trying to put out what are the pros and cons of it. I think we did that pretty well from that standpoint. And the comments go on. This guy, got some feedback, obviously, to his post. He said something about sour grapes. I don't know where we would have gotten any sour grapes. Nobody was complaining that their kids didn't get a scholarship. Matter of fact, John's daughter did get a scholarship, so that wouldn't be applied. I've known players that have gotten verbal commitments. Things change. That was one thing we discussed about that. Where is the advantage of the verbal commitment? And I think most of us agreed that the advantage lies with the college coaches. And a few of the posters sort of said they felt the same way at the same thing, because once a player accepts a verbal commitment, then technically they're sort of off the market. Other coaches are not supposed to contact them. So they're limiting, actually the player is now limiting their opportunities. So does this seventh grader, let's take a 13-year-old for example, or an eighth grader, do they have a full awareness about where they want to go to college, what they want to study? I ask my players that every year. Do you have an idea what you want to do? Do you have a plan? Do you have any idea what you want to study? And at least half of them generally say no. Even when they're a senior, they're still thinking, well, yeah, I really don't know yet. I haven't made up my mind. So there are some that do. I know when I was just starting in high school, everybody said I should be an engineer. Everybody said because I was so good in math and everything. So I read all these books about engineering. I went to school for a year studying engineering and bombed out because discipline-wise, maturity-wise, I look back now, I wasn't ready. So here I was, somebody that I was all for, because back in the 60s, they said engineer could make $100,000 a year. Hey, that sounds good for me right there. I didn't need to hear any more. Okay, $100,000 a year, let's go for it, right? But there's reasons why that wasn't a good fit for me. And I'm looking back now, I wish I would have studied some other things that I think I would have been more successful at. Coaching, for one. I love to coach. I love helping the kids, improve as players, improve as people. We don't look at sports as one dimension. It's not just about going out and winning a game. So some coaches have that luxury. When I moved from my first school was a small Christian school, D5, and I moved to Newport Harbor, which was a D1 at the time. I think they still are. And I had a coach that I'd played with the other school that said, how's it feel like just being able to roll the ball out and let them play? Well, believe it or not, there was still some coaching to be done. There's still teaching to be done. And so even if you've got the better players, there's still something that they can learn from you. There's still a direction you can help guide them with. I'm reading a book by John Calipari, the Kentucky basketball coach. Great book, Players First, Coaching from the Inside Out. And that book, he talks a lot about, he gets players that some of them are ready to go to the NBA when they get to Kentucky, and he understands they might only be there a year. They might be there 2 years. Even though it's a 4-year school, they may not be there the whole 4 years. So, there's a different thing. His players got to have a goal of going to the NBA and playing pro ball. Then he's there to help them do that. To accomplish that, it's not just about winning the championship. Is he also helping them to be citizens? Yeah, he talks a lot about that as well. So there's a lot going on that outside that a lot of people don't think about. So who's got the advantage here by offering this verbal? If I, as a college coach, offer you that verbal commitment, you say yes, you are the one that actually are limiting your options, because look at a number of the posts. They talk about how the number of ways that the verbal commitment could be removed. One I actually heard one that said to let players weed them out themselves because maybe they won't keep their grades up. So maybe the school that they want to go to has a minimum requirement. Matter of fact, somebody said Stanford is 3.8, something like that. I know some years ago at the coaching clinic I went to, Sue Enquist, the former UCLA coach, said at that time they weren't really looking at anybody if they didn't have at least a 3.5 GPA. Because it wasn't that they're trying to say we just want smart kids, it's they had so many kids that want to play for them that they're able to weed them out in that direction. Say, hey, we want the ones because generally they tend to be more reliable as far as completing their education. But let's say coach changed. Maybe the coach isn't at the school anymore. Now the new coach come in apparently is not required to honor that verbal commitment to you. The coach that's offered it, maybe for whatever reason, injuries or whatever, changes their mind, suddenly decides you weren't the player they thought they wanted. So there's a number of reasons where they do not have to honor that. And that was part of our discussion as well, as, is a school going to lose credibility if they don't honor that? Some people say yes, some people say no. What are your thoughts on that? 855-693-4897 if you want to get on the air and discuss that, take your take on it. It was funny, one of the comments on the bucket there compared a 14-year-old making the choice. Why do we allow them? They have the choice, total choice to do what they're to do with their body, meaning referring to abortion. But we don't want to let them choose their college. I don't know that's quite the same. We got to take a quick break, and I'll be back and we'll finish that thread. Coach Mike here, Kidz N Sports at the Rant Radio Network.
ProTech Carpet Tile and Care provides professional cleaning services for carpet, tile, grout, upholstery, and fine area rugs.
ProTech technicians are professionally trained and certified cleaning and restoration experts.
We specialize in restoring damage caused by heavy soil and odor.
We can remove challenging spots such as coffee, tea, ink, gum, wine, and many more.
We have saved our customers thousands of dollars on new flooring and furniture expenses with our advanced cleaning processes.
Call for a free estimate at 562-447-4300 and visit us on our website, www.myprotechsite.com.
Hey, this is Joe Perez, owner at ProTech. Just reminding you that ProTech Carpet and Tile Care is your professional choice.
We're the Brothers Bear Podcast Live, and I'm your host, Sanch, and I'm always joined by
Edgar, Carlos Medrano, and this is a show where we talk about comics, movies, TV, video games, stand-up, music, and many more geeky things. Catch us live on Rant Radio Network on Mondays from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m.
That's another commercial in the back.
The experts know that for pastry, Baker's Bodega has it all. Exclusive brands like Westco Bankmark, Satin Ice, and Pastry Pride. One-on-one day seminars for cake decorating and gelatin art. So for our service, wide range of ingredients and supplies, and for the low prices, Baker's Bodega has it all. But you don't need to be an expert. Baker's Bodega, 7869 Paramount Boulevard in Pico Rivera. Come, we're waiting for you.
A home is the biggest investment in most people's lives. Buying or selling should be a positive experience.
Whether you want to be a wealthy real estate investor or just trying to find a place to call home, at AJR & Associates, we focus on the client's needs.
We understand the market better than most. Let us bring the value to you and make the right choice.
AJR & Associates, making your dream house a reality. Call us today for a free consultation at 562-882-1976. or you can log on to www.agrrealtors.com.
With a track record of great results, bringing knowledge, wisdom, and expertise to you. Hablamos español.
Welcome back to Kidz N Sports. Coach Mike here. I almost forgot to tell you, Kidz N Sports is brought to you by The Sporting Good. The Sporting Good is Mr. Earl. Oops, somebody forgot to turn my phone down. Mr. Earl is, he'll come out to your team, your high school. He's here in Southern California. And he says, try it before you buy it. So check him out at thesportinggood.com. And he'll come out there, he'll bring out some apparel, he'll bring out bats, he'll bring out cleats, whatever you need. And you can actually try them on and pick out which one you like before you buy it. And then if you buy it, he's got some pretty good prices too. So he's a good guy to check out. Thesportinggood.com. And you can see his link on the Kidz N Sports website as well. Back to talking about early recruiting, Coach Mike here. I put a post promoting the last two shows on Hey Bucket. Got a lot of responses. I'm pleasantly surprised I hadn't even looked right away. And sure enough, there was plenty of surprises on there and plenty of responses, 1,300 views or whatever. So that's a pretty important topic. So right before the break, I was mentioning one of the commenters that, let me see if I can find exactly the right one here. But it said something about, why then are 14-year-old girls able to have the right to choose without parental consent? Isn't that a much bigger life-altering choice than what college she may choose at the very same age? Why should this be different? Well, maybe the question there, a lot of times solving a problem is about asking the right questions. So maybe the question there goes to parental rights, of course. And where do you want to draw the line with your parental rights? Some people would say 18 where it's supposed to be, and other people would say no, well, it doesn't matter what age. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, comparing abortion or birth rates as far as that goes, only from the standpoint that, there could be a lot heavier issues involved. For example, if there was some sort of abuse issue. I saw somebody posting on Facebook this week about how they had not been allowed to sit with their daughter when the doctor was talking to them on a checkup or whatever. And I thought that was a little weird. From the standpoint is if I brought my kid into the doctor or to the hospital for the checkup or whatever, and the kid's got a broken nose, got some bruises or something like that, is there a concern there that some abuse might go on? But just for a normal checkup, the doctor asks the parent to leave the room. I personally, I have a little bit of a problem with that. Sure, there should be some privacy, and I'm not saying there shouldn't be, but I think, where do you draw the line? And that's a subject we're not going to solve in 1 hour. We're not going to solve it in 24 hours. We're going to solve it in a week. There's going to be people on both sides of that equation that don't agree. So when it comes down to college, let's take it back to does the parent have the right to tell the kid, you're not going to accept that verbal offer? Yeah, they probably, legally, they probably do. I don't think obviously most parents are thrilled to death their daughter or son, if the case may be, gets a scholarship offer, right? I mean, some parents today, I think most parents are just thrilled for their kid. There's some parents we hear the vicariously living through their kid. Well, I think there's some parents that's a bragging right alone. And yeah, they're glad their kid got it, but it's more about telling their friend, hey, my kid got that scholarship. Did your kid get it? I don't know. Some people, it sort of sounds like they do that. I've heard a few people say that. So what do we do? Let's look at the options. Wouldn't the best thing to do, wouldn't the best thing be to put the options on the table and figure it out? Sit down with your son or daughter and say, okay, you've been given this offer. You're a pretty good athlete. Let's look at what it means and what the options are. What I used to encourage my daughter to do whenever she had a big decision to make about something, whether it's a school or life, was simply draw a T. Take a piece of paper out, draw a T, and then put plus on one side, negative on the other, and then go down and list what are the pluses, what are the minuses, step back from it. Number one, take a few minutes to decide, because if you let your emotions make the decision, chances are you're probably going to jump at that offer. That's why a lot of these college coaches are doing this, because they want to get the jump on their competition. Okay, there's big money in college sports, lots going on out, so they want to get the jump on that competition. So if they could take you off the market, their competition can't take it. So again, that's their advantage. Is that necessarily to your child's advantage? There are some people that will still say today that if you're a good enough athlete, you're going to get discovered. You're going to get that scholarship. And I think that's probably about 90% true. I don't think it's 100%, because I think there are some very good athletes, for whatever reason, don't get signed. And I had a player a couple of years ago that a couple of the coaches considered her to be the best shortstop in the league, in our league, yet she wasn't signed. She ended up playing a couple of years at a junior college, and now this year she got a scholarship to a new university over in Mesa, Arizona. So there you go. You never know. It's not an automatic. So, but I do think that most of the time, if you're that super athlete, if you're that, what do you want to say, a Mike Trout, a Peyton Manning, some of those elite athletes, somebody's going to know you. Somebody's going to say something to some coach out there, and somebody's going to look at you. Then I think there's a whole group underneath of those elite athletes that are good athletes that can play in college. They're not necessarily going to be discovered quite so easily. They have to do a little more work on their own. They have to be on the travel team, going to the showcases, sending the letters off, maybe a little earlier. But does that mean they should still jump at that first offer that is given to them? Because now, as one commenter put it, and let me go down the list here, printed out a lot of these because my laptop keeps going up. Let's see, no one is removing opportunities from anyone, just asking the schools wait until later. I was looking for one of them and said if they're good enough to get that verbal there, they'll probably have another opportunity later. Maybe not the same opportunity, okay? Maybe that coach wanted to has fulfilled their quota. Maybe they wanted 20 players signed or verbal by a certain date. And so, yes, maybe you lose that opportunity for that coach or that school at that moment. Does that mean they won't have another opportunity later? Not necessarily. And one example I know of is a kid that played with and against my daughter in travel ball in high school. And she got a scholarship to, I think it was MSU, to Michigan State. And her dad told me the original scholarship was about 49%. And I guess the first week on campus, she got called into the coach's office. The coach said, somebody gave up their scholarship. I got more money. So, boom, you got a full ride. Wow. How many coaches would have done that there? Maybe that coach would have said, let me go get another player. So maybe she had all the players she wanted for that moment. Who knows? Each school is going to be different. Do your homework, parents. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from the last 2 week shows. And if you did miss them, by the way, you can go back and get those at iRantRadio.com. You can get that podcast, and you can go back and hear what we were talking about. We had some pros and cons. One of the gentlemen here, Steve Fieri, he's a guy that goes out and helps parents get scholarships. And he likes the verbals in a lot of ways. Now, some might say, well, it's because he's making money. Well, yes, he is, and yes, he isn't. That doesn't necessarily mean he did everything to get the verbal there. May not be somebody. Coaches aren't always helping just the person that paid them some money or is with the organization. I know a coach. Every now and then he'll call me up, Mike, I got a college that wants so-and-so, wants a certain position. Do you have somebody that can fill that position? Do you have a player that might be a good fit for that? And doesn't necessarily have to be a player. If he doesn't have one of his players that can do it, he might look elsewhere because he's developed relationships with the college coaches. So let's go back to your son or daughter. Draw that T. Get that piece of paper. Draw that T. It's not hard to do. Simple T, right? Draw a T on a piece of paper. Put a plus on one side, put a negative on the other side, and sit down and write. Number one, is that the school your son or daughter wants to go to? Is that where they want to go? Or are they jumping at it because they're worried they won't get another opportunity? Does that school have the education, have the degree pattern, the program that your son or daughter would like to study? Because you need to think beyond sports. You need to be able to think beyond softball, football, basketball, whatever it is. Okay? What are they going to do when they can fish? Baseball, basketball, and football players, primarily the boys, have greater opportunities as far as having a professional career in their sport. But even there, the numbers are staggering. It's such a small, minute number of players that actually ever get to go to the pros. Okay? So think about that. What are you going to do if you don't make pros? What are you going to do afterwards? I love the NCAA commercial, and I'll say this over and over again. I wish they'd keep repeating. I hope they keep playing it on all their things in one form or another. 75% of all collegiate athletes go pro in something other than sports. Whether they become a doctor, a lawyer, a store manager, who knows what they might become. They might have an MBA. Get that degree. That should be the primary focus. Now, if your son is 6'9", 250 pounds, 300 pounds, and he's been playing basketball since he came out of the womb and everything, he's probably got a pretty good chance that he might be able to go pro. Okay? But what happens if he gets hurt? What are you going to do if he gets injured and his career is over? Go look at the pros. If you do fantasy out there, you might already have a good idea. But if you're just sort of watching the weekends, sometimes you may not be aware, gee, where'd that player go that I used to like so much? Oh, gee, he blew his knee out. His career is over. What's the average life of a pro football athlete? Their average career is something like 5 years, maybe. Okay? What are you going to do after that? Coaching? That's a good viable option. But guess what? Teams need fewer coaches than they need players. Don't forget that one. Coach Mike here, Kidz N Sports on the Rant Radio Network at iRantRadio.com. Be back in just a minute.
It's one thing to own a business. It's another to promote it. That's why thousands of business owners rely on Monster Marketing Group. Design, print, mail, custom mailers, all for as little as 29 cents delivered. That includes postage. Send to a neighborhood, zip code, or an entire city. With just a simple call, 888-49-MONSTER, you can easily promote your business, sales, events, grand openings, send coupons, and much more.
Your mail delivers in as little as 5 days. No dealing with the mailing list or paperwork. Monster Marketing does all the heavy lifting. Get started now by calling 888-49-MONSTER or go to monsterng.com.
Monster Marketing Group. We deliver, we give you results, we can prove it. Business that needs to get noticed, your ideas need a great website. And at Infuse, we build simple, clean, and efficient websites. We believe that even the wildest ideas should come to life in a beautiful way. We build responsive sites, e-commerce sites, and even help with business email setup and search engine optimization. Every great idea needs a great website. Start your new look today. Check us out at www.infuse.com. That's www.enfuse.com, or call us at 800-542-4783. Again, that's 800-542-4783. Infuse, we get it done. We are the Three Guys Rant with Arvin, Mike, and Phil.
Make sure to check us out every week at the3guysrant.com. And you'll find out what they say we're faces for radio and voices for the deaf.
Damn right. Have you seen yourself lately?
Hey, I'm audio candy.
All right. Always tune in each week so you can hear the really absurd news and talk with the Three Guys Rant. Arvin, how do they reach us?
Call us at 855-69-3-GUYS. 855-69-3-GUYS. It's hot out here. I need a drink.
Have a mucho macho michelada.
What's a michelada?
Michelada is a Mexican Bloody Mary made with beer. All you have to do is get bucket-sized michelada, open it up, pour it in your favorite beer, and you're good.
What if you don't like beer?
You can use it in lemon lime soda, vodka with lime, or tequila with lemon lime soda.
Sounds delicious.
Where do you find it?
You can find it at your favorite store, or you can go to muchomachomichelada.com.
Find us on Twitter and Facebook.
Coach Mike here. Glad you're joining me today. If you want to call and comment on our subject, feel free to do so. 855-693-4897. Before I keep going, I want to let you know I've published my book finally. Youth Sports, 3 Important Steps to Helping Your Child Enjoy the Experience. Right now it's available in the Create Space store, and within the week it should be on Amazon. So I think it's going to go for $6.95, maybe a little less on the PDF. I don't know how they work it. But it's just a short little book, about 25, 30 pages. And just a few tips, sharing with my experience here. I've been coaching youth sports for over 30 years. Help your kid, let them enjoy the experience. And we're talking about this early recruiting, and recruiting in general. Part of the issue that a lot of the people that are concerned, the people that are, if you want to call them the naysayers, whatever, part of their concern is your child being able to enjoy sports. Studies show that most kids drop out of sports by 14 years old. They discover girls or boys, they discover video games, they discover other things to do, or maybe they realize sports isn't for them. You never know, whatever. But there's a lot of them that drop out, and when they're asked about it, they say sports just isn't fun anymore. Now, if you're not very good at a given sport, that could be part of it. I don't know. I've played with kids that were better than me in a lot of sports, and I enjoyed playing with somebody that's better than me, actually. Do I enjoy when I was in a position where I was losing all the time? Well, not as much, of course, but there was a time where I played on a church basketball team over in Phoenix, and because we were a Christian school, every winter we'd go up to this tournament near Sholo, Arizona on the Indian Reservation. And the rules then, I don't know, I would imagine maybe they've changed now, but back then, we're talking back in the 60s, you might be playing an 18-year-old in the 8th grade, okay? The rules on the reservation were a little bit different then. So we'd usually lose 2 games and go home because we were playing obviously against much more mature kids. But we still had a blast up there. They'd feed us. We'd go up and we'd camp out basically for the weekend, and we had a blast. So, I think what's changed between then and now is not that winning or losing is different. We put the emphasis that we put on it is different. For whatever reason, we've gotten the idea if you're losing, you're a loser. There's 2 different things there. Okay, not everybody can win. And a prime example I point out, take CIF southern section here in the LA and Orange County areas, actually all of Southern California except San Diego. CIF southern section has over 500 schools. In softball, there's 7 divisions. So that means you get 7 champions out of 500 schools. Does that mean you got 493 losers? If you want to look at it that way, I feel sorry for you because I wouldn't look at it that way. Let's get back to enjoying the journey, enjoying the experience. Because what I'm finding out now, what I'm hearing from coaches and parents now is that the winning isn't as enjoyable anymore either. Okay? And the losing, in some place they don't care. And I'm talking to a high school basketball coach I know, and they make playoffs. They lost in the first round. And he said, Mike, the kids, some of the kids don't care because their club basketball team has another tournament the next week, and it's all sort of blurred together. It doesn't mean as much anymore. And I've always said, I've been doing this show I started the show about 8 years ago originally. And one thing I've always said, there's a difference between club ball or travel ball and high school ball. And it's not, when I first started coaching softball, high school's a joke. It's all about travel ball. Well, I didn't believe it then. I still don't believe it now. Does travel ball have a different place? Does it have a different priority? Sure it does. Let's look at a couple of the reasons why it does. Number one, college softball coach is in their middle of their season the same time you're in your high school season. So they don't have the time to come and watch your high school team very often. Once in a great while, if they happen to be in the area and the schedule allows, yeah, they might, but they've got their own thing to worry about. So they can, in the summer, in the off season, in the winter, they can go look at a showcase. They can go look at travel ball. They can go see a whole bunch of teams playing in one set of fields. So it makes their job easier there also. Gives them more opportunity. To me, the bigger difference is there's a pride. I've always felt when I ran cross country, there's a pride playing for your high school, playing for your colors, playing for your mascot. And you're playing with kids that aren't doing travel ball or club ball, and maybe they're not that good. But you know what? I've seen those kids bond together, and they become a team, and that's what it's about. And they have just as much fun winning at that level. When you take that away, when you turn your high school team into just another travel team, maybe it's still, there's always something about winning a championship, but maybe it's just not quite as special as it was the way it used to be. I don't remember there being a lot of travel ball and club ball when I was in high school. So you never know. But let's get back to the T here. Go back to your son or daughter. What's the benefit for them? If they think that's the only offer they're going to get, and they've done at least some homework to think that school might be where they want to go, maybe they went to a softball camp like UCLA every year has a softball camp. So maybe they went to their camp and they loved it and they want to go there. And they really know, and okay, maybe that's great. Maybe you want to take advantage of that. But I've heard from coaches and parents that they've never visited the school, and maybe they didn't even do a lot of homework on the degree programs offered, whether that's going to be a fit for their child. So the kid gets back there and plays, starts playing softball. They suddenly realize their life is consumed with softball, maybe more than it was even with travel ball. You hear about kids that don't have a social life. They don't have, it's all about the sport. They get up early, hit in the weight room. They got to go to classes, and they got to practice. And for a lot of kids, that's a lot of fun. You look at a college team, a lot of them have a lot of fun out there. But is it fun through the whole journey? So maybe they're not a starter on the team. Maybe they don't even get to play very much. And season's over. They're still studying, and maybe they're not doing as well in their grades. Maybe they're homesick. There's all sorts of things that go on. I've heard of players blowing off scholarships after their first year because they didn't like the school when they got there, or I know one story where the coach used to tell me the travel coach used to tell me the mom used to call, gee, don't you want to be at home? You're so far away. Oh, you're not happy. Come on home. Thanks, Bob. Maybe you let that kid tough it out, and they grow another part of themselves and they become more mature. But there's different reasons. Everybody has a different story with it. So take that time to sit down. I have a travel coach that told me one day, he said, he'll ask you, they got that verbal at 14 years old. Say, okay, so why are you still playing softball? Why bother? You might get hurt. You don't want to mess up that chance, right? Why play 18 under? You've already got your scholarship. Well, sometimes that happens. They don't keep the skills up because they're not motivated. So even though they're playing 16 under, 18 under, moving up the ladder, but now they've got that verbal in their pocket. And so they don't feel they've got to be the leader on the team that they maybe should have been. Maybe they don't work quite as hard because they don't feel they need to. They feel they're already good enough. I like a website, Higher Ground Softball, my friend Bobby Simpson down in Georgia. His motto, getting better every day. That's scriptural. Be better every day. Work to improve every day. Are you doing that? Your best athletes, that's what they do. And that goes beyond looking at the scoreboard about whether we won that championship or not. It goes on beyond whether you got the MVP award or not. Are you better today than you were yesterday? I'm at a school now where we don't have a whole lot of elite athletes. We get some now and then. I've had one play for me my first year there. I've got a young lady now I think that could be an elite athlete. But we have to compete against other schools that have more travel ball players, more club players, and it can be a challenge. And if I put my focus on the winning or losing, we'd have a whole bunch of negativity around her. It'd be tough to get through a season because we have to play at a higher level. So in a way, it forces the girls to grow. It forces them to try to become better, but sometimes that pressure can be too much. When it's a big stretch, which sometimes it is, it could be a difficult challenge. Not every kid is wired the same way. Some of them feed off of it. It's the same thing. You get that verbal scholar offer, before you say yes, sit down and draw that T. Draw that T. Is that what you want to do? Is that the school you want to go to? Was that a school that's on your list? One of the commenters on Hay Bucket there was pretty funny. They said, well, we don't stop a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old from dreaming of becoming a doctor. There's a big difference between dreaming about something and making a verbal commitment to something. How many kids when they were 13 or 14 wanted to be a doctor by the time they were 18? Oh, that's not for me. I get sick looking at the sight of blood. I'm not going to do that. They got to biology class in high school and had to dissect that fetal pig, and all of a sudden their whole idea about becoming a doctor changed, right? So you never know. Kids change their minds what they want to do. There's a difference about dreaming for something and doing that verbal commitment. I dreamed about playing pro baseball when I was a kid. I didn't have a prayer of making it. Now, maybe if I had grown up now with all the travel ball and the coaches and everything like that, would I have had a chance to do it? Maybe. Who knows? But I didn't. I grew up then. And I had a fun time with sports, played a lot of church basketball and softball over the years. I tried out for a junior college basketball team. Didn't make the team, but I felt pretty good about the way it turned out. Have you had those conversations with your kid? We'll be right back after this profit timeout. A few commercial breaks to hear from our sponsors.
Been in an accident? Then you need your vehicle professionally repaired. That's exactly what you get when you bring your vehicle to Greg's Auto Body Repair. Free quotes within minutes. We will provide everything you need for a hassle-free auto body repair, from an accurate estimate to working with your insurance company. We will get your vehicle to its pre-accident condition as soon as possible. Greg's Auto Body has been serving Los Angeles County and local cities since 1970. Call us at 562-789-1300.
Hey people, are you ready?
Are you ready for some football?
No, it's called a triple threat.
Wait, a triple threat of what?
Entertainment, gossip, and pure fun.
It's Tinseltown Talkies, Thursdays at 6:30 p.m.
Only on www.rantradionetwork.com. Don't miss out if you want to be a part of all the action.
With Rasha and Pimo.
That's right. See you then.
Looking for a delicious, fresh family meal that's ready when you are and easy on your budget? Welcome to Piara Pizza. We make our pizzas with handmade dough, 100% real cheese, and tomato sauce blended with our own spices. Nothing is ever frozen. We always have large pepperoni and cheese pizzas fresh and waiting for you for only $5. Or choose one of our specialty pizzas. We have veggie, meat lovers, supreme, and Hawaiian. Add an order of our amazing hot wings, cheesy bread, or breadsticks. Our locations are ultra modern, ultra clean, and open 7 days a week. Visit any one of our locations today, or check us out on the web at www.piarapizza.com. Piara Pizza. Fresh, hot, and ready for you when you come in. Stop in for your Piara Pizza today.
Real Estate Rant and AGR Realtors are proud supporters of Michael Aguilar and Associates, advocates for stroke awareness and integrative healthcare.
In February 2012, I suffered a stroke due to high blood pressure. I was rushed to the hospital where I was admitted for the next 30 days. I was initially told I may have to stay in the hospital for about 3 months, but I made rapid improvements in my recuperation and continued to improve to this day.
When Michael left the hospital, he did not have insurance to cover his rehabilitation, so he focused on integrative healthcare to get better. At the end of 2013, seeing a need for stroke awareness, Michael started his own company, Michael Aguilar and Associates, to focus on creating awareness about the dangers of high blood pressure and stroke.
If you would like more information, please call me at 562-464-7297, or you can visit my website at www.strokeawareness101.com.
Michael Aguilar and Associates, creating awareness and saving lives one person at a time.
Kidz N Sports here. Teach first, win later. That is the mantra. That's what I live by here. That's what I try to live by in my coaching. You know, let's worry first about getting the team up to speed and getting them doing their thing. And the wins will come. The wins will come. So final comments here talking about the early recruiting. Like I said, if you go on heybucket.com under the fast pitch discussions, you can see my thread there, and you'll see, like I said, there's a lot of comments pro and con. And like I said, I'm not making a judgment. Right now, I personally don't think it's a good idea. I mean, that's just the direction I'm leaning. And let me put this out there for you. And I'm not saying this would be the whole answer, but what if no colleges gave athletic scholarships? What if there were no athletic scholarships? Okay? And what if there was a focus, sort of like the high schools, that you're going to go, most of the time, you're going to go to college in your community or within a fairly close situation to you. Imagine how much room and board you'd save. Okay? I know some of your parents are trying, come on, Joe, get out of the house, get out of here. They want to kick you out. But no. But let's think about that. What if it wasn't about the athletic scholarship? Would that change your son and your daughter's desire to play in college? Because that may be something that you as a parent have put on your son or daughter. And with all good intentions, I'm not bad-mouthing you. I'm not saying you're wrong to do that. What I am saying can be wrong with some people, apparently from what I'm hearing, quite a few people, is now you're putting that pressure to get that scholarship on your son or daughter. And some parents don't even sit back and see what does your son or daughter really want. And I mean, that's not you can't just say, what do you want, and expect them to give you the answer. Because I've seen it. I've seen the examples time and again where the son or daughter, I've seen with my own daughter, they will tell you what they think you want to hear out of respect for you because they love you and respect you as a parent. They don't want to disappoint you. Your approval means more to them than that scholarship does. And if them getting that scholarship means mom or dad is going to love me more, then they're going to go that. They're going to do everything they can to go that route. But part of the way, somewhere along the way, they may suddenly become miserable. They may say, this is not what I wanted to do. I'm not happy here. They may or may not throw that back on you, mom or dad. Are you ready for that? I mentioned it in the show, I think last week or the week before. What about that poster where the little boy asked, Mom, Dad, will you still love me if I strike out? Keep that in mind. Are you a parent that yelled at your kid because they struck out? They went 0 for 3 that day? Or they fumbled the football? Or they put up an air ball in basketball, or whatever sport you're there for? Have you ever yelled at your kid because they did not perform up to your expectations? Because if you're one, then you're especially somebody that needs to listen to this and take a look at this. You need to have more than just a question and answer for 5 minutes with your kid about what they want to do with their lives. You want to give them choice. 33 here wants to give them that choice, and that's great. From the time my daughter got into travel ball, we tried to give her choices. I would see a tryout. I would check out the coach as much as possible. We'd go out and see the practice. She would try out, but ultimately it was always up to her whether she joined that team or not. She had the final say-so there. If there was something I wouldn't approve of, then we would have that conversation. I'd tell her why I didn't think she should be on that team. But it would be up to her. So you're giving them a choice. You don't have to take that away from them. But let's be realistic and let them know where the value is and where the opportunity is. Maybe they've got a better opportunity by waiting, but they're not going to know that if they jump on that first offer. Okay. One person said here, if you're worried about losing out on a big opportunity, don't. The player is not likely at all to break their verbal agreement, but if the coach decides for whatever reason at all down the road that they don't want that player anymore, they will yank the verbal. Or worse, they'll let your Dee sit on the team where she will likely sit for 4 years, and maybe you find out the hard way she doesn't like it where she is. Only to realize that she could have made a better decision if given more time and given better guidance by her parents. Parents, if you want to give your kids the choice, then sit down and have a long conversation, and not just one. Remind your kid over and over, what do you want to do? We'd love to see you be a doctor. You can support mom and dad when we get old. You want to help us out here. We'd love to see you be a pro athlete, whatever it might be. But what if that isn't? What if they just decide they want to be a volunteer? They want to be a missionary? What if your son or daughter decides they want to travel the world? Maybe they want to be an airline flight attendant or a pilot or whatever it might be. Find out what they really want to do and help them get there. That's where you can do the most good. And if sports is a part of that, hallelujah. I love sports. And I know all of my guests do too. They love the sports and they want to see your son or daughter succeed. But make sure it's their success. And make sure it goes beyond that college time. And when they get out of college, they can look back. Can they look back on their sports experience and say, wow, I'm glad I did that? Or are they going to look back and say, geez, I don't know if I should have, I would have rather gone and done this. I had a chance to go to Europe and study art, but mom wanted me to play basketball. Or dad wanted me to play football or whatever it might be. Are your parents going to love you, whatever you do? I think so. Whether my daughter is pitching a softball or whether she's holding our grandson back there, we're pretty happy for her. And we get that enjoyment. I don't think she always understood that, though. And we had a nice little talk about that when we were back there. And she laughed. She said, actually she made a post. It was funny. I'd put up a post or something about the show a couple weeks ago, and she said something about my book I wrote, because I talk a little bit about some of the things why I wrote this book has to do with some of the things I learned from her. When she was growing up, she said she wanted to copy that book so that she could show it to Dylan when he grows up so he could see how stubborn she was. Now, I don't know. Yeah, she was a little stubborn. And I think overall she was a pretty good kid. But I think she probably thinks she was worse than she was. She wasn't. But there were times where, yes, she could have made maybe some better decisions And I think she realized now that she's getting older. It's an old saying I saw years ago that said to a teenager, their parents are the stupidest people on earth. The older the kids get, the smarter the parents get. The older the kids get, the smarter the parents get. When they have to live what you lived through, Mom and Dad, then they realize why you as a parent did what you did, why you as a parent tried to guide them to a certain direction. And they realize maybe there were times you said no because you didn't have the money. Okay? And they, when they're a kid, especially even before high school, they think, oh, Mom and Dad just write a check out. I need whatever it is. I need the new shoes. I need the iPhone. New iPhone out there today, I guess, or this week. It was $600-700 iPhone, unless you sign up on the new agreement. It's easy for Mom and Dad just to get whatever I want. But I think the kids that are the most mature are the ones where the parents actually said no more often, because they realize happiness is not predicated on the number of toys you have. Okay? It doesn't matter how many toys you have, you don't get to take them with you. You don't get to take them with you. So don't forget that. What does your kid really want to do? If they really want to play softball, if they know there they want to go to college, and that college says, hey, we want you, here's a verbal offer, and you think that's the best option, and you want to go with it, then more power to you. Take that offer, but don't let your child stop getting better every day, because otherwise they might find out that offer won't be there for them when the time comes, because maybe they're not the same player. Help them realize what's more important. Help them see where they can get to, not just where they are now. If you're here now, what can you get to? What can you achieve? Did you see that catch Mike Trout made the other night over the fence? Amazing. Amazing. That guy keeps amazing people. I just saw the replay of it last night. He climbed up on the fence and took a home run away from a guy, and that ball was he had his arms fully stretched out. I'm going to say 3-4 feet over the fence, and he took that home run away. Would he have done that if he quit trying to get better when he was 15? If your child isn't so sure that that's what they're going to want to do the rest of their life, then wait. See what else develops as they move forward their career. Maybe when they get to be a junior in high school, they'll realize, yeah, I really do want to play sports in college. There's still going to be some opportunities there. Look at how many Division I, II, and III schools, how many NAIA schools there are out there, and they all need a whole lot of players. And they have injuries too, just like you see in the pros. They got injuries too, and sometimes they need another player. Your child can create their own path as they move forward. And you never know, maybe it wasn't the path they originally started off on. Maybe that wasn't what they thought. But maybe this one turns out to be better. One of my favorite movies, Mr. Destiny. You ever see that movie? Mr. Destiny. That's a pretty cool movie. Michael Caine's in there, and I always get the Belushis mixed up. Was it Jim Belushi or John? I always forget which one is still there, but great movie about changing your life because you wish something was different. He struck out in the championship game instead of hitting the home run. So Michael Caine gave him Belushi a chance to see what it would have been like if it had been different. You might try that sometime. Maybe you'll think differently too. Thanks for joining me today. Kidz N Sports on the Rant Radio Network. Tune in next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. We'll be back with another great show. I think we're going to talk maybe about concussions next week. Have a good one.